Today we are talking about Kate Bush running up that hill that gained new popularity from the famous TV show Stranger Things on Netflix. If you're a huge music nerd just like Andy and me, press that subscribe button, it really helps out the channel.
Yeah, we're talking about Kate Bush's new song and not new song. What the hell am I talking about? It's not news. It's from 1985 and it's because of the
Stranger Things
Thing
blow
series.
up
Blow
already.
up.
Yeah, that happened.
For old farts as us, we
Yeah.
already knew the song. It's an amazing song. It was a hit even back then.
Yes.
And now people are rediscovering it, and we, of course, love that.
Yeah, and it's blowing up after 30 years, but the funny thing is, it's not really its TV debut. Many people think it is.
No, it's not. It's been used sometimes before.
Yeah, it was used in a kids as a theme for a kids TV show on BBC back in 1986, already 1 year after its release.
Yeah, and it was also used as a sample for an M83 song, I believe.
Yeah.
Midnight City it was.
I think that's correct, yeah. Don't hang me up on that name.
No, I can't remember either. I think there's actually been like other TV, cameos here and there.
Yeah.
It's a very popular song. It was number 22 on greatest hits Billboard kind of thing of like the greatest hits Billboard for greatest single. That's what
That's
I'm
the greatest single.
Greatest single of
that's
all
the
time.
That's the
and it
thing
was
we're
number
looking for.
and it was number 22 of greatest single released of all time. Number
Yes.
22.
When we're diving back into the 1980s, it's not really my favorite song coming out of the 80s. But then again, I am very genre biased. But looking at what type of genre we're actually talking about when it's Kate Bush, is it pop or is it R&B? Does have a distinct bass and drum loop going on in the background.
Yeah,
it was very it was famous for the 1980s to just have that.
Yeah, it was like the 80s era did have some sort of electronic. It was kind of like the era for electronic music. We had all those guitars and synths and stuff like that. Some of the old synths, like sounds from back then, like are highly sought after today.
Yeah,
because they're kind of rare to come across some of those old 80s and 19s synthesizers. They were very special. So yeah, it was definitely the era from that. We've also just entered the era of disco. The era of this, the aeroplane of disco.
The era of disco.
The era, exactly. The era that was disco.
Yes.
Just entered that, and we also had, all the more acid kind of weird experimental rock from the 70s. So, we had this big mix of interesting music, and in that midst, we had Kate Bush.
I don't really find it that weird that the 80s are coming back into the sound image and the popularity of it, because if you're looking at artists like The Weeknd, he is kind of bringing the 80s back into the loop here with some of the tracks he's making with Max Martin.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are certain, I think people who work in the fashion industry probably knows of this phenomenon. We do have a lot of things that like repeat also in fashion. Like it's 80s colors and now it's 90s this that like popular, and those things like keep going in a circle. And we kind of have that music too.
Yeah.
We do have that music too. There's like this circle of life where we keep going back and to create new. And yeah, the 80s are definitely like that whole...
It's kind of weird looking at it, because if you're looking at the rock genre that we come from, it's kind of like new metal is coming back into the image here. And in the pop world, it feels like the 80s are coming back. It's kind of... We are at a crossroad here. We have Imagine The Weeknd mixed up with Papa Roach. I feel that is what's happening.
You feel it's weird.
Yeah.
What's happening
in this genre popularity.
Yeah, I mean,
thingy.
I think Kate Bush was like even a little in the special side even back then.
Yes,
she has made like a lot of different things. Even like her song "Wuthering Heights," that's just like
we
this
reviewed
extremely high pitched kind of. She did make a lot. This is much more of a regular pop 80s hits.
Yeah,
and it is pop, by the way. I would definitely like say it's pop. We need to remember that pop back then and pop now are two different things.
Yes.
It keeps evolving. So this is definitely what I would call 80s pop.
And thank God for that.
Yeah, because it's not the rock that was back then. That was more like glam rock, glam metal,
and
long hair.
Could we call this glam pop? Is that what it is?
It's just 80s pop. This was just what pop was back then, more or less. Today, like people also say that Rihanna is pop, but she's also R&B.
Yes.
So like pop is just this big mixture of whatever is just popular at the time and is not rock, basically.
Yeah, but when we dived into this track and we listened to it a couple of times, and the thing that I reflected on the most was definitely like the choruses never really seem to repeat in performance. It kind of feels like she's singing the choruses individually on the recording, because it kind of has differences on each chorus. What I really loved about the verse is it feels like more like a musical take on the verses. Like it's not like a verse that has a distinctive melody that you can follow along to. It kind of feels like this experience. I think the music video also represents that with all the dancing that is going on.
That's surprisingly very true. Surprise, surprise. He said something I agree with.
It happens so rarely. Come on.
That's kind of true. I know Kate Bush. I know this song, but it's of course a long time ago since I listened to it the last time. It's not my favorite Kate Bush song by any means.
It kind of came out 5 years before I was born.
For the love of me, I can't remember what she's singing in the verse.
No,
but that freaking chorus, it's just
it's pushed into your brain. Like it's supposed to. It's not being repetitive. Yet we actually can't get that chorus out of our head, which is very, very impressive.
And it's interesting that the thing you said before, that the verse is not that. It's kind of like a bit confusing, and more this emotional experience you have with the whole music, and it's difficult for us to only like focus on the song, because we of course have also watched the music video to it. So it's kind of difficult to split those off.
Yeah,
but yet the music video also built up around this weird romanticized feeling of its emotions, and then there's the catchy chorus.
Kind of like you're having a conversation with death in some sort of way.
Yeah, in the video there's some hints of she dying, and the guy she's dancing with is a bad guy or something.
Or like he's just like one of the millions of people, or like she meets along the way in her life. Like we can interpret that music video over and over and over again, because it's Kate Bush. That's what she does. She has a very artistic way of showing and representing her visuals.
It just sounds dirty when you say it. Show me your visuals.
Show me your visuals.
It's just I do agree with you that she always was a very special musician, lady.
If you take on the verses, if you should categorize that as some sort of individual genre, because it feels like this genre kind of splits throughout the track. We have the choruses. There are definitely some pop going on there. Pop we can resemble to modern pop, but the verses feels more like a musical theme.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's difficult because you're like, this is not your home field.
This is way off my home field, but
this is much more
love the track.
I listen to a lot of things from all the way back from the 60s. I'm really like an oldies kind of guy.
Yeah, you're an oldie but a goodie.
I'm not surprised at all about this 80s pop era and how Kate Bush interpreted it. So I guess I'm kind of just biased, because for me it's just one of the songs Kate Bush made in the 80s. What's so special about it? That was a good song in the 80s, because I've listened to it that much basically.
But I love like they're pulling that particular song out of all the things that happens in the 1980s, because it's not the only song they pulled out. They pulled out Metallica
in the series.
Yeah, in the series. They pulled out Metallica at one point, and everybody made tons of memes about that. It gained such a huge amount of reborn popularity because of the show, but the meme culture kind of fell flat for me. So if you kind of have a meme out there, I don't know about, link it down in the comments.
Meme culture is a weird thing, because there's definitely like there's some good jokes out there, some good memes, and then there's like 99% the rest of them who's just like shitty attempts of bullying. Just stuff.
So here we are with Kate Bush running up that hill with this new exploded popularity of the track. In my head, she could go back on tour. Everyone would be standing the entire show waiting for that song to come on now. She would be able to sell new merch, and she would be able to make, I don't know, new music videos. Like if she came out with a new album, now is the time.
Yeah, I don't think she's gonna do that.
Now, like she, from what I've been researching, she earned about $800,000 in streams alone in a month. That's a huge explosion in stream revenue from one track that is 30 years old.
She could go on tour again. I just had to check her age because I was a bit confused of how old she actually was. She's only 63.
So yeah, she could definitely go on tour.
Like, I don't know her.
Sell new merch. Like imagine like selling.
She
She could actually go in and say, well, I can now sell Stranger Things merch.
I don't think she wants to.
Like Kate Bush and Stranger Things fonts or whatever.
I actually feel a lot of musicians from back
if you steal that idea, oh my god.
I actually feel a lot of musicians from that era who's not playing as much now. Like a band wants to go back together and start touring again. I think a lot of them are having like, should we do that? Do we even want to? Because like the era of music we're in now with
have you seen
internet,
Kiss?
Yeah, but they never stopped playing. But a lot of people, I feel a lot of people, like including Kate Bush and stuff, when they stop playing and maybe, you know, hey, should we do a new tour or whatever? I think a lot of people are like from that era just like, no. We really, like, they're from a time without the internet.
Yes.
Where you kind of had to get a typewriter out to write a hate mail. Now you can like open your inbox and 200,000 people have given their opinion of why you should die. And I actually don't think a lot of people from that era, they don't give a crap about it. I think a lot of them don't want to.
But then again, we went online just to check out her music video and it banged at 94 million views. That's in my that's a number I can't even begin to grasp. Like that's beyond what anyone would hope to achieve.
Absolutely.
At a music video at any point on YouTube.
It's a cool song, and you know it got its popularity from Stranger Things again. By the way, and thanks for that.
Yes,
like it's so
thank you
so
for
nice
bringing back good music into the world.
So cool. Like there's so much of the good stuff back then.
Reviving the fossils.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff from back then that doesn't, you know, that a lot of the young kids today actually would want to hear, but they don't know.
Like imagine if you were at the top of your career, you think now, but in 30 years, one of your old tracks from today will explode again because of a TV show. I would never expect that to happen. Imagine if a show, like let's say Stranger Things, took Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good and played it again. Do you think the same thing would happen?
Perhaps not with Johnny Be Good, just because it's such an overplayed, you know, everybody know that number, that track anyways. But yeah, I think that would happen with a lot of music. If it's good music and you know, it's a good series being watched by many. Yeah, it would.
That's that actually a rating system I would like to develop in the comment section. If you're using the comment section, please do. Let us know, would Johnny Be Good be just as popular and have the same type of phenomenally explosion in streams and stuff if it was played in Stranger Things today?
It was one of the greatest songs ever produced in the 80s to begin with. And then they make a very popular hit series about the 80s. And they use one of the greatest track of the 80s. And then like millions and millions of people see a track that was great back then. And then surprise, surprise, people still think it's great. Yes. So of course, this is basically just, wow, who knew Kate Bush made a good,
I actually think this track, proves that music doesn't have an expiration date. It conquers the track of time.
The track of time.
Yes, like imagine like if you're have you ever been in a scenario where you put on a song for like Elvis and people be like, why are you listening to such old stuff?
Well,
that's an old song.
Maybe I have, but that's because I do listen to a lot of that things and people always call me old, but you know, I mean, in general,
that's what I mean. It stands the track of time. Like it doesn't have an expiration date. Music that was phenomenal back then is still phenomenal today.
It's gonna be that yeah, absolutely, and there are a lot of things.
Test of time. That's the phrase that I'm looking for.
That's literally what I've been saying. I was whispering it into the microphone for it. It's not the track of time. It's the test of time. You idiot. You moron. Poor thing.
Oh God!
But yeah, you always said that music doesn't have an expiration time, and I do agree with you, especially with great tracks like this. And it doesn't. Sometimes music disappear and then resurface, and people fall in love with it again. And then it is true, and it's also true that it doesn't really matter how shitty of a recording it is.
Yes,
there's a lot of Queen's music that, please, when you listen to the recordings, it's not even close to the standard we have today.
No,
but because it's just so freaking good music, nobody gives a shit.
Well, that's a whole nother ballpark of being able to put things together, because they were like, we have 4 different things that we don't really know how to put together, and Freddie Mercury was able to do that somehow. Anyways, let's transition into structure, lyrics, and sexiness.
But that's easy. 5, 5, and 5. Let's go. Let's go home.
Let's go. Oh, see you on Monday.
What you're gonna tell? One of the most popular music video. What is the number 17 most popular music video today? And you're
In
gonna
the
give
world?
It 1? In what world will
I
that
wanna
be good
give
for
it
our
a what?
YouTube career? It's a 5 for the lyrics. It's a 5 for the sexiness, and it's a 5 in whatever else you can come up with. Let's go home and not destroy our YouTube channel.
Anyways, let's be for real about that one. The structure of the track, I still think it stands against the test of time. It's worthy of another listen.
It's worthy.
It's worthy?
It's worthy.
I'm still not over the chili
worthy.
sauce from last week. I find the structure of the track very like a roller coaster in a way. It does have tracks that you're going on, like if you're imagining a roller coaster. Now we'll just paint a picture. You have a roller coaster, there's tracks on it, and the tracks are resembled as the drums and the bass that keeps looping throughout the track. That never changes. And the wagon is, of course, a voice, because she doesn't really restrain herself at any point in the track. She kind of pulls the same energy out of her voice throughout the entire track. And here comes the curves. That are those choruses that what I was talking about.
Please stop and speak. The curbs.
The curves. The curves.
I swear I heard you say curbs. Like, why is there curbs on a roller coaster? What you talking about?
I'm talking about the curves and the loops. I believe that she made sure that the choruses were individually recorded. I don't think it's a copy paste thing like we do today.
No.
A lot of choruses out there are just copy paste. Sad to burst the bubble. Most artists today record the chorus once and they copy paste it.
Now, I'm not an expert on technology from the 80s, but I think that was literally the only way to do it. They wouldn't have the ability to copy paste like we do today. They would have to take multiple tracks and then they can sometimes cut together. But I don't think I have ever heard a track from the 80s where that was actually something they do. They did copy paste like that. I think that was very difficult to do. So I do agree with you. I think that it was one big take and they, of course multiple takes, and then they took what was best.
But what still really impresses me is that even though if she did that, recorded each chorus individually, you kind of have to use a good ear to hear the differences.
Did she change something in some of the choruses? I felt that was something that was being changed. Some words, some way of doing it. But I'm not sure. It was very obviously a very dynamic song. I think that you could actually like hear if it was the first or the second chorus. That was just something that was a little different with them. You knew what kind of chorus it was in some way. And that's kind of special.
The chorus really brings you back to the experience of the track because it sticks into your brain somehow. Even though it's not even repetitive.
No, it's just...
She made sure that the chorus got glued onto your brain without using repetitiveness.
The thing about Kate Bush and what made her so popular back then was that she really was a very crazy, talented, weird kind of artist. And it's funny to see people falling so much in love with her even in 2022 because she's still just that special and unique. Yeah. When I'm looking at her, it's just like, wow, she's just weird. And
she's just
cool.
Wacko.
But
even, everything works. Like
it
everything
just keeps.
connects,
She was just that unique. So
she really makes sure that, like we talked about earlier, that she makes you define your own little story while listening to her music and watching her music videos and all that stuff.
Yeah, and she inspired a lot of other musicians generally with her style, like Björk and stuff like that. So yeah, I think
I believe she did.
When we I just like it. I think it's a good one.
Yes. Yeah, like straight up 5. Straight 5 stars in the structure, because that chorus is gonna loop in my brain, even though she only sang it like 3 times. Moving on to the lyrics, though, I can't for the love of me not remember anything from these lyrics. Like I mentioned earlier, the verse kind of feels like a different genre. It kind of takes you into some sort of musical way of like performing the words in a way. It doesn't have a melody in those verses. It doesn't really. The first verse and the second verse, they don't even resemble one another in the slightest.
No,
it's an experience that you're going for. Definitely,
I think you're right. The whole verse was more. It was a feeling. It was a journey of it being very melodic and nice, and there was a lot of feelings. You weren't really paying attention to what she was singing. It was just beautiful because she do have a very beautiful voice.
She does have that tendency to make the song an experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotions.
Yes,
a lot of emotions.
You kind of get lost into into her performance in a way.
It is a story. You kind of get launched into this feeling, and then it's nothing, specific. It's just a nice travel of feelings you are going through.
Yeah, it's mesmerizing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would agree with you. The lyrics are not as rememberable and catchy in the verses. But how many songs can say they are that in general? And I think the chorus is just like, that is catchy. My God, that's catchy.
But then again, we have artists out there where even the verses even gets to me. And they make the verses very easily for you to remember. The verses on this track kind of throws me off. But then again, she uses that chorus as a fishing hook to bring people in again.
Some songs are just straight up just where the verses are just better and more catchy than the choruses. I know a couple of songs like that.
Yeah, same.
Completely reversed. But I will
don't even think I made one of those.
Like, I'm actually gonna stand by the joke I made earlier. I'm gonna give it 5 too.
You want to give it 5 stars on the lyrics anyway?
Yeah, you present them very nice. It doesn't even matter what it is she's singing about, because the whole thing is just so magical and emotional. And we talked about it earlier. It just makes so much sense to use that song in a series called With Stranger Things.
Because it's just strange.
Yeah, and it's just mystical and magic. So I'm just gonna give it 5. I'm just gonna stand by it.
Let's move on to the sexiness of the track. This is where we maybe not gonna agree, because I know already you want to give it 5 stars on the sexiness. You want to give it 5 stars on the sexiness,
I do.
I don't think I'm gonna give it a nudge on that one, because it doesn't transfer me into a way that I'm gonna get back to it. I'm not really feeling the need of going back to the track again. It's been introduced to me for a second time in my life, but in a different scenario. I've heard it. I understand the popularity. That's of course a very biased opinion. I love the track, but it's not that type of genre that I listen to, and mostly it doesn't really bring me, like, give me the urge to listen to it again and again and again. Kind of like Max is doing in the show, because she needs to stay alive.
Yeah, I do actually have to agree with you on that. I do love Kate Bush. I'm super biased, but it's actually not my favorite song she made. I'm not great with these semi-depressive songs.
No, because it really is. It is uplifting, but it still feels kind of sad.
Yeah, it does. I do acknowledge the song as a great song and how amazing it is. And that's also why I want to give it 5. It's more because I know that my personal bias is that it's not my favorite, but I completely understand why it would be someone's favorite.
It's kind of like one of those tracks you put on while you're on a hot summer day where you're driving in your car away from life. Not into it, but away from it.
I guess I'm basically with Kate Bush, I'm trying to like get rid of my bias by being super biased. And that's a bit weird, because like I can completely understand how amazing this song is. To me, it's not that amazing, but I understand why it would be for others. And I want to give it 5 just because she is just that amazing. But this track is just not my favorite. So I have to be honest with what I feel of the track. 3. If I have to be honest,
because I was landing on the 3 stars as well. Yeah,
5, because I really do think this is a great.
So she's a 5-star amazing artist, but the sexiness of the track just pulls me down a little.
It's just not our jam.
It's communicated in exactly the way she wants it. Like I said earlier, it's a song that you put away on when you're going away from life, not into it. In our genre is gonna be a 3-star on the sexiness.
It's just not our jam.
No,
from her. But we kind of understand why it would be someone else's.
Yes,
like completely.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Click here to watch us talk about weird band merch, a video that just aired. And thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.